All right, and we're live. So, wow, what a week, what a day, and what an hour, and what the past 5 minutes. So, everyone, welcome to this week's show of the Author's Dilemma. It is Thursday evening. We are on Facebook Live, and we're happy to be here with you. Uh, it's been it's been a honestly, we didn't think Jen was going to make it, but she did. She's the
train. The train.
Between maladies and trains, but hey, Jen, it is so good to see you, and I'm glad you
Thank
made
you. I'm glad I made it too.
it. All right. Excuse me. I am J.E. Jack. I write paranormal thrillers, urban fantasies, and that's it.
And I'm Hyrum Hawks, and I write hard sci-fi and sci-fantasy.
And I'm Jennifer Carr, and I write Christian romantic suspense and clean contemporary romance, I think.
And yes, you also enjoy demonstrating why live podcasts are more exciting than pre-recorded.
Y'all, listen, 40 minutes. I sat for 40 minutes trapped at a railroad crossing where a train was stopped, and it started moving about 3 times before it finally decided to move. So I came in on 2 wheels. I've literally been here for a minute and a half. So thanks for being patient with me, and I'm glad I made it.
I mean, if this was the Olympics, Jen would be right there.
Gold medal, baby,
right,
yeah.
right there. So last week we talked about how we're having technical difficulties, and so I think we might have fixed it, but I'm not sure. I'm checking Facebook real quick because it says we're live. So hey, we are on our page. So hopefully hopefully that'll be fixed going forward. I don't know. It was one of those I before E except after C situations, and we got it back. I don't know. Anyway, we'll figure it out. So, what is going on in your business, Hyrum?
Well, I topped the 50,000 word mark on my current work in progress, and so that's fun. And that it's been challenging because I also realized that I was writing in the wrong person for one of my characters and had to go back and change it from third to first.
Oh no.
And the moment I did it, it was like the character suddenly became more real.
Oh yeah.
And it just, some characters you want third person, it just makes sense.
Right.
But in this case, it just worked. And especially because when I write third person, it tends to be a little more like my voice, more analytical, less flighty. This character is now very kind of rigid and very fitting for her as a scientist, very hard focused scientist. And so it's like interesting. I would never have done that if I'd done it right the first way. I would have made her a little more flighty.
That's actually probably a good conversation we should have at some point, because writing third person, writing first person, like all my books up until the last book I finished was third person, and then the last book that's not out yet. It's slowly getting there, but I did that in first person, and you're totally correct. It's a totally different feel. You really feel your character, which coincidentally enough, we're going to be talking about character development tonight, so that kind of ties in. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut it off. No, keep going.
Other than that, I've got FanX coming up at the end of the month. I'm trying to have this first draft done. It's not looking likely. Too many personal life things, like keep having to do things like go to doctor's appointments. Yeah. And so silly. FanX is happening either way. All the books should be here, and I also have an anthology that I'm part of. I got my short story in that. My short story is called. What is it called? Well, now that's embarrassing. It's about a demon
who is really important.
Who gets pulled into our world and finds out that he's been pulled in by a bunch of incompetents who are also actors, and they don't know what they're doing with demon summonings, and he's like, I won't kill you if you let me be in your play. So that is my short story.
Your imagination.
And it will be in an anthology.
Wild.
Or where's the
dragon? That wall in a play.
Where's the dragons at?
He does.
You gotta add dragons. Yeah. Well, okay. Lizard man. So, Jen, what's going on with you?
Woo! Well, we
Oh,
are
wow.
about. You sorry, was that loud? Sorry, I
No,
can't.
no,
actually-
no, 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 no. I was just being silly.
Oh, okay. I was like, well, we're less than a month away from launch date for book 2 of Real American Country. I'm so excited. I've already gotten
Mhm.
some feedback on it from some advanced readers, and it's all good. And so that's happy news. And then
Now that's the one.
Saturday,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
That's the one that you totally like. You revamped it, right?
I did. I rewrote
Right.
it. Like it became a almost not a completely different book. Like the vibe was still there, but it was better. Like my editor actually said, "Oh, it actually reads like you wanted to write it." Yeah, I rewrote it basically. So she was like, but I could tell I was at that point too with it where I was like, I don't really want to publish this, but now I feel really good about it. And like I even had somebody who she was an ARC reader for their first book, and she read this one. She goes, "I'm not gonna lie, it's different from the first book because it's different characters, but it's just as good as the first book." And I thought, okay, see, because that's you never know when you're writing a sequel, like you never know. And
Mhm.
so I'm super excited about that. And then Saturday, I have an author event in North Alabama, and that'll be the first one I've done since March, and I'm pretty excited about that. As long as all of my
Which one will that be?
that is the Tennessee Valley Literary Festival, and it's at the Athens Limestone Public Library.
Oh, so if you're in the area and you're not crazy, stop on by to say hello.
That's right, and I
Or
promise,
if you
no,
are
I'm not
crazy
contagious.
but are safe.
Yeah,
Yes, if you are crazy, there are plenty of other authors' tables you can visit.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Uh, let's see what's going on with my world. Nothing right now.
Work.
Yeah, work. I work a lot. I know I've alluded to that before, but yeah, no, I work a lot, and so bandwidth is kind of not. Sometimes I just don't have bandwidth for it, and then obviously I'm still dealing with a lot of stuff with personal stuff, but you know, however, I'm getting that bubble feel or that like okay, I got to start writing. So I know that eventually, probably it's coming. I mean, I know I'm going to, and
Yeah.
then I'm taking a week of leave for my day job for my birthday later this month, but I'm going to probably start really being serious about what I'm going to do, for the next book for uh, during that time frame. And I'm thinking like, well, I should probably do a follow up to the urban fantasy because what books are usually 3, right? They come in threes, kind of like bad things always come in 3. I'm joking. No,
No.
but when you see a series, you see at least 3 books. So I have to at least make an effort to do the series because that was the whole point behind that urban fantasy was to kind of create these characters that you could kind of elongate over a course of 2 to 3 books. And it's new for me because, like I said, I've never done anything more than standalones before. So it's going to be we'll see how it goes. And then this podcast, we're still dealing with this. We're still learning how to make this bigger, better, and better and
Better.
but anyway, so that's all fit for print.
Excellent.
So what is the news this week? All right, she has
so much.
There's so much. Hyrum, what do you have? Because I always have news, but what do you have?
I'm sure it's one of the same as you. NaNoWriMo imploding.
There is that, but I was going to actually steer clear of the AI, but we can talk about that too, because I'm all about
It's
it.
the news that is the news this week.
There's more too about
to me,
authors getting scammed. There's a whole nother side. Like, yeah. So let's talk NaNoWriMo and then we'll talk scams.
Okay,
first
I
off,
don't think there's too much.
First off, NaNoWriMo is an event that happens every November. And usually it's not really a contest, but it's like a challenge for aspiring authors or authors to finish a book within 30 days or within the month
Or
of
at least
November.
50,000 words.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So at least 50,000 words in the month of November. And it's been around for
20 years.
Oh, wow. 20. Okay. I didn't realize it was that
Wild.
long. So it's been around for a minute. But
a lot of people are saying that it's outlived its welcome anyway because November was never a good month for it.
That's true.
it's Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like, who has time? Well, I mean,
No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
No,
I agree.
I have been promoting spooky Rimo. I think that October is a much better month. It is one day longer, and the only holiday is Halloween. Now, some people might say that's the whole month, but
actually, that would be great for me because since I write the stuff I do, Yeah,
Well, and
now
Hyram's summoning demons in his,
yeah,
so
well,
I
that's
mean,
true. That's true. You know,
Very, very entertaining.
he has a dark side that we don't see very often.
Yes.
So I'm
Well, if
curious,
they're
like
funny.
with the NaNoWriMo, was there any cost to doing that, or was it?
No, they
Okay,
got paid
no.
by advertising.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
it was a small organization. This was not ever a big organization, but it really didn't need to be an organization, is one of the things that people have talked about quite a bit. But fundamentally, a couple years ago, there was one of their people that there were some grooming charges. They cleaned house, as far as I was aware, and so everyone thought, okay, they had their fiasco, they're done. But then this year they partnered with, I believe it's Pro Writing Aid, and Pro Writing Aid is trying to move into generative AI, and they were the sponsor. And in fact, the NaNoWriMo just came out with a statement saying it is ableist and classist to say that to gatekeep using AI to write, which, okay, that just blew up, and a lot of us are really mad. And I deleted my account with NaNoWriMo personally, and I saw a lot of people on their board have resigned. They're ticked. Sponsors are starting to drop like flies. I suspect that before very long, the organization will simply cease to exist.
there's a good chance.
That's that's interesting.
Well, it is interesting. And I will say, Pro Writing Aid has used generative AI for a while now. Like one of their things is literally, it helps you expand or sparkle your work. And so it's not new. It's
See,
just,
that's funny. I've never used that. Like I've always used it just strictly for the editing
mhm.
part of it.
But it's a thing, it's a
Use it for
feature that they
commas.
have. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a feature that they have that has been there for a long time. It's just now being called out because of NaNoWriMo shining a light on Pro Writing Aid because they are a sponsor. Even though Pro Writing Aid is not the only sponsor of NaNoWriMo, they're just one of the big ones.
Now, I mean,
Well-
I could see. Okay, so, and here again, this could be a conversation. I could see using, hey, take this sentence and give me some ideas.
Mhm.
Expanding it or whatever, and then like if it works, okay, if that's in my voice, and I would use that. Well, I don't see anything particularly wrong with that. Now, writing a book for me, like, hey, I want this, this, and this, and then I don't know. I mean, and that's kind of where there's a lot of different thoughts. And I'm
The
kind of
debate is almost entirely murder it with fire and prejudice. And
Oh, yeah.
that's pretty much what you'll see on Twitter and what you'll see on Threads is the consensus is kill it with fire, don't look back. This is insane. Writing is for humans, not for AI. And the arguments about ableism really offended a lot of disabled authors who were coming out and saying how ableist it was to say that, and that is actually the more bigoted statement.
how tone deaf it
They're
was.
saying they can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I actually did a poll over on Threads asking, can you tell that a book has been written by AI? Because I use like ChatGPT enough to know when I'm doing my social media and stuff, there are repeated phrases, there are just ways you can tell unless you go in and do heavy editing. And so I did a poll over on Threads, and 67% of readers say that they can, of the ones that voted, that they can tell that a book has been written by AI. So we're not there yet. You can absolutely tell, but the people that do it, they'll get caught. They'll get caught.
Well, some people are quite open about it, though.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, they're quite successful, too. So I don't know. I mean, like,
Some of
I
them.
don't know. What's that?
Yeah, some of them.
Some of them. There's
Some
a lot
of
of
them.
people that immediately block and will never look at that person again.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like you got to be in the know to really know.
that's true.
And
Oh, yeah.
Well,
and do
not
most
for long.
and do most readers not? I would say like I don't know. I guess that's an interesting.
If AI were not as dumb as we are, plus combining all our prejudices, then maybe it would get better. But you ask an AI how to spell strawberry or how many R's are in strawberry, and universally it was saying two R's in strawberry. And if you confronted it on it, it would implode. It would literally error out. Now. I'm sure they fixed the strawberry.
I'm gonna have to try that
but
now.
that's-
I had to sit here and go in my head, Like,
straw. There's one, and bear. Okay, there's three.
okay, there
So
it is.
yeah,
It thinks there's two. Now, they could fix that error, but that's the thing, is that it's as prone to errors as its training. And
Right.
training, that's why you can't trust AI, because you'll Google something and the Google bot will pop down and
I
it'll
hate
tell
that.
you this, and you can't trust that. Like, I've been looking up a lot of medical things lately because my wife and I both have some medical health issues, and it's wrong. It's straight up wrong about stuff. You have to go into the actual results, because it'll say stuff like, it's like how the old joke with WebMD. If you have these symptoms, what is it? Cancer. Well, it's worse. It's just making crap up. It's utter nonsense.
I mean,
it's making.
it sounds to me like they need fact checkers.
And that's the show.
mean,
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Let's just stick with humans.
Yeah, no doubt. So, Jim,
Oh
what
my
was
gosh.
what was your little what was your news?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so there was a woman, a young lady on TikTok who she was a book talk influencer, and she has been outed as of end of last week, beginning of this week, for scamming thousands of dollars from indie authors, promising to do videos and book promotions and stuff like that. One guy paid $600 for one video from this girl. And, I went and looked at her account before it got banned or privated or whatever it was. And I was like, you would pay $600 for that. But that's the thing. Like, people are they think she's got all of these followers, da da da. I have over 8,000 followers on TikTok. And do you know what that means? Nothing. It means nothing. My videos still get anywhere from 300 to 800 views, and the ones that are 800 views have nothing to do with my books, right? So, like,
she has a lot of time, and she made 7,999 counts to follow her. I'm joking. I'm kidding.
Right.
But you don't know.
You
You don't know the quality of these people that are following you. They're half of them are bots.
Exactly. And so she scammed a lot of authors out of a lot of money, and they're crying about it. And I'm like, my heart goes out to them because they weren't wise enough to do the research. But here's the thing. If you are an indie author and you are listening, that comment's really funny, but if you are listening to this right now or later in the future, don't trust another individual who does not have a company backing them. And when I say a company, I mean a publicity company, or have been in business for themselves for a while and have a track record. This girl had a TikTok account. That is not worth $600 for a single video.
Right.
I don't care how many views she'll promise you.
$6.
And she can pay to have that video sponsored, get thousands of views, and not get a single sale from that. So you have to be really wise with it. Don't just fall for the first person who looks shiny.
Well, it comes down to the fact, okay, I had maybe 3 videos pop off for 20,000 views. I got 0 sales from any of those, and that was when I quit TikTok, because it was not worth the investment. Yeah. Now, should I get back into it? Probably. Not because it will
you got your hat now,
lead to sales.
Yes,
branding.
Yeah. But it's community building as well. There's a community to be had there.
No, that's true. Well, that's true, because even though I'm not on TikTok,
that's how we all met.
That's right.
That's right. I mean, this podcast probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't
brought
for
to you by friendship.
Yes. But real quick, let's bring up this comment. Justin and Mary Barber say, I don't trust AI or Google. Where's my tinfoil hat? Well, my tinfoil hat is up there on the bookshelf.
Never take it off. Put it on the inside. Line it on the inside, just like Wax and Wayne in Sanderson's books.
That's the thing. It's like, well, I tell you what. Talking about anyway, that's a conversation for another time. Which at some point we need to have a segment of the show where we talk about books we are currently reading.
Oh.
Because I just finished. I am going to talk about it. No, I just finished a book called The Myth of Capitalism, and it was very eye-opening and depressing at the same time. But it was a good read, and it just kind of talked about the issues of the world that we're in today. So that's all I'm going to say. But It was thought-provoking. All right. Sorry. All right. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of tonight's show. All right, we are talking about character development, and we all have different ways of doing it. Some people plan ahead. I do a flashlight into the cave, and then, oh, there's a character there. That's my characters. Don't run away! Don't run away! Tell me all about yourself.
Here,
I've
main
done both.
character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny.
And I don't know. So, Hiram, what is your thoughts on character development? How do you do it?
Well, I've read and listened to enough about it that I know there's a lot of techniques that people have, but for me, I've found that I can plan a certain amount, but I've got to pants to get the character, to get their voice. And from what I've understood, a lot of plotters still do that. A lot of plotters, they know what their character needs to do, but they don't, to get their voice, they got to write it. And then by the time they get towards like a third, then they know what they're going to need to go back and revise. And so I honestly, character development to a large extent is knowing the situation you're going to put the character into and what you need the character to do. And to me, the last flavor, the last thing to give them the right flavor is knowing the arc. And so if you want to have a good plot arc, you kind of know where you want to go. The ideal is having the character have something happen to them that changes them, that fits that plot arc. And so that's part of why some characters are truly powerful characters, is that their fatal flaw is the thing that's keeping them from succeeding at the plot in the end. And so, like, maybe the character's fatal flaw is arrogance, and so they aren't willing to try the thing, and then they finally get to the point where they've hit rock bottom. The only thing left is to try the thing. They have to try the thing, and that's what saves the day. So if your character the most powerful stories, the character's fatal flaw is the thing that they have to overcome to save the day in the story. And that's really hard.
So that's how you develop characters.
That is.
So, Jen, tell
Other
us
people
your
will do it different.
yes.
Yeah, because that's not me, and that's okay. I
It's
have
completely
characters.
different stories too. I mean,
Right, that's true, because you're a very plot driven writer. Like your stories are very plot driven with characters that fit the plot. My stories are very character driven with plots that fit the characters. So I am the complete opposite, right? So my stories always start out with the characters kind of giving me an idea of what their story is going to be like. I know who my characters are before I put a word on the page. Like, I know exactly where they're from. I know their personalities. I know what they kind of sound like. I know what their history is. I know where they're headed. And so I know how their personality is going to drive the story. And
now,
so
do you have that before you write or as you write, or do you
yes,
develop it like?
nope, my
She has
characters.
sheets with spots to write in.
Yes, like I have entire character profiles as detailed as possible. If something pops into my head as we're going along, where I'm like, I can kind of see how this would change them, right? Like right now, I'm working on the 5th book of the series, hopefully the last book of the Real American Country series. But these characters are so flawed. One of them has some addiction issues. One of them has some anxiety issues, a little bit of there's some identity crises going on. And so I know this about them before writing, so that I know what they're going to be like throughout the story, and it also helps me see how they're going to grow as the story moves forward. So I'm totally opposite. They're going to move the plot along, and we're going to see how the characters grow more than we're going to see the plot get us too far in. You know what I'm saying?
Now, in both cases, I think that both when it's plot driven or character driven, in the end, the character is the most important.
Oh, absolutely.
Even for me, like, the plot is super important. Like,
Yeah.
with my current book, they're stuck on the moon because an asteroid hit. But that's the least interesting part. The most interesting part is how the characters grow to save the day.
Oh, yeah.
Because otherwise, what's the point? It's like,
Well, the characters are the vessels, right? They're moving the
Right.
emotions and they're moving everything along. So you have to have them, otherwise.
Oh, right, and have through their dialogue. I mean, they tell half the story.
Exactly.
So
Mm-hmm.
I kind of do it. My characters start off as brackets. Like, once upon a time, there was a bracket, And then I mean, I'm tongue in cheek in that a lot, but it's not too far from the truth, because I know with the first couple, it was basically a retelling of my youth with different characters. And yes, I would embellish some memories or change some memories or change some things. And so the characters in those two books are really, I guess they're me, because I mean, or they're well, actually they're all me.
Just
All the
different parts
characters
of you.
are me.
Yeah.
Multiple personality disorders. But no, but all joking aside, yes, like, the family dynamics and just different things. And then the third and fourth book, like I said, I had an idea. Okay, well, this character is going to face this. And then as I wrote, I never got detailed with it, but okay, well, he's married. Okay, well, who's the wife? Okay, well, this is who this is. And then I would come back and like I said, I have like a running tally in my head when I'm doing it. And obviously I'm reading it. So if something doesn't make sense, and then another big thing is having readers, every trusted people that you trust, every 5,000 words or so, I send them, what's the update. And then they would also tell me like, hey, this isn't right, or this doesn't feel right, or this, so not only am I, when I'm writing my own characters in the story, if I make a disconnect somewhere, at least I'm getting it caught early on, and then I go back and fix it. At least that's how I'm doing it.
For sure. Well, and I think having that connection to your character is also helpful, because, and I mean, we write what we know, right? We write the things that we know, whether it is somebody we've observed in life or on TV or wherever, something we've experienced. We write from what we know, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it does help have that emotional connection with your characters.
And sometimes, like when you have a character that is truly nothing like you, sometimes you just make him a caricature. That can be fine for certain types of characters. Like in my first book, I didn't even try to make the villain anything less than kind of a mustache twirling villain. He wasn't important. He has no character arc. He is the villain. Now, he didn't actually twirl his mustaches, don't worry. But meanwhile, in my second book, the villain, very quickly, I'm not spoiling anything, we find out that she's not a villain. She thinks she's the hero of her own story because she's doing it for her people. Everyone has a lot of complexity, and so I don't have mustache twirling villainy in me, but I can just guess and make stuff up, and that's honestly what you do. And then some people are maybe a little more psychologically inclined. Maybe they have a little more detail. Like has already been mentioned. Have people read it, because honestly, I wrote a scene for a romance novel. First couple chapters, it was a female perspective and a male perspective. And ironically, I had Jen read it, and she'd said the male character is terrible, but the female character is spot on. And I was like, dang it. And I realized why, because the female character, I was basing it upon things I'd learned from my sisters, my mother, my wife, my daughters. I've been observing people, females, for 42 years, but I don't have any good villains. And the man was really he was a villain. I want him to have a character arc, if I ever write this book, where he goes from really bad to really good. I don't know anything about men who are predatory. It's not my nature. It's not anyone I know. The closest is an ex that I won't say how, an ex of someone that I can't say, or else they might try to sue me. Anyway, they're the mustache twirling villain though, and they're kind of boring because of that. And so I don't know much.
That raises a question for me, and it's a conversation I've had offline. Does that mean that because you don't know it firsthand, should you be writing it? And I ask this because this question comes in a lot when you're writing diverse characters of other cultures, and that kind of thing. It is a huge conversation that is had amongst readers and other authors who are also in that sphere.
Well, I am not a blue alien, but I wrote an entire book about blue aliens with pointy ears who some of them had darker skin and some lighter skin, and the most racist thing all of them had was actually more just nationalistic. I've never been a blue alien. Still wrote it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think in today's society, we're always looking for tribes to belong to.
Yeah.
And I think in today's world, like especially, I mean, when I was in high school, you go to the lunchroom and you only had like 5 groups. You had your jocks, you had your band folks, you had your ROTC folks, you had your nerds, you had, but it was very like,
Cowboys.
Yeah.
What's that?
Skaters and cowboys.
Yeah.
Emo.
Yeah.
But but now, from what I've understood, it's like it's fragmented even more.
Yeah.
Where there's 5, kind of like writing, like a genre, right?
Yep.
You had your 5 big ones, and now, oh my gosh, there is so many like small.
Yes.
And in today's world, I think people they feel like they get more out of being angry,
Yeah,
than they feel out of having constructive conversations.
Yeah. Oh, I get. Yes, absolutely.
It's short-circuitable. So my first book is The Persian Asteroid. It is about the main character who has a character arc. I have American main characters, and I have a Iranian main character. He has a character arc. He has a lot going on, and I had 2 Iranians, former Iranians. You can't read my book if you're in Iran. They would not like you. The government. But these 2 people read it. They loved it. They gave me feedback on things I got wrong about Iran, about their culture.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be giving them the same thing. My third book, the one that I'm working on now, is about a near future Iranian young woman. She's one of the 2 main characters, and I don't know anything about her in the sense of her culture, but I've read as much as I can, and I'm going to get more beta reading feedback.
And I think you hit on a point. I think you hit on a point. Like if someone is doing an honest, like introspective, like really taking the time to really study, really trying to get it right, I think that's totally fine. But then obviously you're always going to have detractors. You're always going to be like, oh, you're a white man, you can't do that.
Right.
And I don't think that's correct either, because it's fiction. This is how we learn about each other, and this is how we learn about ourselves every time we write something. And I think it's one of those things that now if you're writing just like stereotypes,
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
And you're not taking any effort to really learn why things are the way they are, or unless the character is being stereotypical in the book towards that person. But anyway,
yes, you do have to avoid the stereotypes, the caricatures, unless the story calls for it, because that's how you find the sensitivity. And there are people who are gladly sensitivity read for you, and that kind of thing. You just have to make sure that you're finding the right people once again to do that for you. So,
And that's true. I mean, and the thing is whatever you write, there's going to be someone out there that likes it. So
yes, exactly. Yep.
And there's going to be people out there that don't. So, I mean,
that's true too. That is so true.
Truly, the thing about humans is we're all kind of the same in certain ways, and we're all diverse in other important ones. Fundamentally, every human is going to have desires for food, for shelter, for security, for love. But not every human is going to have lust for power. Not every human is going to desire fancy clothes. Not every human is going to desire men or women. And you just have to, if you can get the base, if you can get the desire for love and acceptance and the other fundamental ones, and you treat them all the same that way, and then you iterate upon that. You spread what is the snowflake method a lot of people use? That way you can see how they are different from everyone else with the root. You want the heart of them to be correct. They're human, and then you branch it.
Well, and I think it's one of those things, like, as a writer, you're trying to capture human nature.
Yeah.
And to do that, you had to be honest.
Yep.
You had to be honest with who you are and who your character is. And
exactly.
do you put your the biggest thing I've always learned growing up, and especially in self-development, is it's kind of empathetic, but you put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
And that's what we do as writers. I mean, that's what we do, especially writing first person. You are putting yourself into that person's shoes. Quite. It can be quite complex too. The feeling.
And one thing too, that I think a lot of writers, when they readers, people that get all hung up on this, they forget we're playing pretend.
That's true.
Why are
at the
we
end of the
being
day,
so serious? This is literally playing pretend on a grand scale. Let's make it fun. Unless you're writing literary fiction, and then I guess you can make it miserable if you have to.
Yes. All right. Well, is there anything? Well, I mean, is there anything else to really kind of that you can
Just
think of?
hope. There is
I have two things. Yeah, let me add two things. One, there is going to be a blog post about this exact topic over on jcarwrites.com. You can visit that. It kind of goes through all the things that we talked about in detail.
Include the show notes.
I'll include it in the show notes. And also on my website, there is a resource for authors. I think it's free right now, and it's a character development book that helps you come up with, there's like 100 touch points on one character that you can write down. So that's over there as well. So yeah, those things are there for your benefit.
We'll have to stop by and take a look at that.
Don't even think I could fill that out for myself.
Hey, that's the one thing that I encourage people to do.
And that's how you find out that you're a blue alien.
Hyrum, it's not for you. That's all.
Oh man.
But
So,
yes, everyone remember, you can make your characters come to life. You just have to spend the time, and you just have to write into it. Sometimes you might think some people can do what Jen does and pre-plan them, but even then, you're gonna have to write into the character to get to know them. Even some of the biggest name authors have to write into it, and so you're not different, and you can do it.
Yep. So, what do we have coming up next week?
Next week we do have a guest. I do believe that
Natasha Blandford.
Yes, and we will be talking about writing the darkness. She writes some pretty dark fiction, and how authors can sometimes get pulled into the darkness if we let the fiction overtake us. And so,
Well, I look forward to that conversation.
That doesn't happen to you, or it does happen?
No. Like I'm just kind of curious. Being pulled into.
She writes some pretty dark, like human trafficking and that kind of thing. So it's a very dark topic that she writes, and so.
Well, right. I mean, I get that, and like so I my day job is law enforcement, and I could understand how certain aspects of crimes can be very it weighs on you. It does weigh on you. So that I get.
Think how long you dwell on a book, and how long you are emotionally attached to that. So anyway, it's going to be a great conversation.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. So we'll be here next Thursday at 6:30. So if you have questions for a awesome writer that writes dark stuff on things like that nature, be sure to come by and ask some questions. As always, you can reach out to us at authorsdilemma@gmail.com. And I guess that's about it. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and we will see you next time. God bless.
Yes.
Bye.